At father's banquet. A stable hand plunked my undergarments in the front hall, for all to see. Once the shock faded, father's political foes pounced to mock me. My beloved announced on the spot he wanted nothing to do with me. To save the family's honor, our clan tried to marry me off to him. I begged father to clear my name, though he'd always doted on me like a treasure. He only frowned. Your sisters are unmarried. Think of them. Marry him, or hang yourself with white silk. Trapped. Then the newly named Grand Censor arrived at the Gu household with betrothal gifts. After the wedding, I spent half my life working tirelessly, only to repay his kindness that day. Though I carried a lifetime of shame, I comforted myself. My kids were obedient. My husband and I respected each other. What more did I need? But Usher Jing lay dying, clutching my hand. Face full of regret, he told me the truth. Only then did I see my whole life was a joke. Welcome to my channel. If you like this story, please click to subscribe. There are more wonderful stories waiting for you to listen to. Chapter 1. Nanny. Where are you going? I awoke drenched in cold sweat from a nightmare. Lifting my gaze just in time, I saw my wet nurse hastily stuffing something into her sleeve. She carefully smoothed the creases at her wrist, composed her expression, and prepared to leave. Witnessing this scene, I finally understood I had been reborn. Startled by my sudden voice, she froze, her face frozen in shock. Miss, weren't you asleep? Seeing my cold stare fixed upon her, the nanny shouted toward the door. You lazy good-for-nothings. The cicadas woke the young mistress. Keep shirking your duties, and I'll sell every last one of you off. After flexing her authority, she turned to me with an ingratiating look. Miss, it's all those lazy good-for-nothings disturbing your peace. Shall I? I waved her off. It's too hot. No need to be too harsh on them. I was asking you a question just now. What nonsense are you babbling about? The matron gasped, slapping her forehead. Look at this servant's memory. I was so preoccupied with the insects outside disturbing your peace that I forgot to answer you. I deserve a beating. I was about to fetch your bird's nest soup from the kitchen. She suddenly leaned closer, her eyes crinkling with a smile. Master is hosting guests tonight, including many promising young men. I imagine he wants to arrange a suitable match for you. Miss. The younger me would have blushed fiercely at such words. And that would have been the end of it. Neatly swept under the rug by Auntie Wang. But I merely nodded, my gaze fixed on her cuff. Someone. Wife Wang has sticky fingers, she's stolen from my chambers. Search her thoroughly. Maids and servants stationed outside entered in orderly fashion. They pinned her to the floor, holding her down so tightly that no matter how much wife Wang struggled, she couldn't budge an inch. Miss, I truly didn't steal anything. I'm your wet nurse. If you don't believe me, who else would you trust? I kicked her squarely in the chest. You rotten-hearted wretch. Her whole body trembled, whether from pain or terror. I couldn't tell. Soon, the maid Xiaotao pulled a small garment from Wang Laonyang's sleeve. In that instant, the room fell deathly silent. I bent down to look at her. Nanny, I recall you have a son, correct? Back then, it was I who vouched for him, granting him the chance to attend the tutoring school alongside the young masters of the household. Wang Ma's face turned deathly pale as she fixed her gaze on me. Tower, fetch that boy back. Tell him this young mistress has instructions to give. Mistress! It's all this old servant's fault. I was bewitched and led astray. Please, don't harm Chang'er. He's my very lifeline. Xiao Tao hurriedly agreed. Before leaving, she shot Wang Laonyang a vicious glare. In grand mansions, hidden schemes abound. Wounds may not show on the surface, yet they can inflict unbearable agony. Normally, Wang Laonyang, relying on her status as my wet nurse, ruled my courtyard like a queen. Now, having lost her power in an instant, at my signal, her maids and servants swarmed forward, venting their pent-up grievances one by one. By the time Xiao Tao returned with Chang'er, old Wang lay on the ground, barely clinging to life. Seeing her precious son, she struggled to rise. "This old servant awaits your commands, young miss. In my previous life, my undergarments mysteriously appeared at a banquet my father had prepared. A noble lady of distinction, yet caught in an affair with a stable hand of the household. Afterward, I investigated secretly, only to discover that those involved either died suddenly or were punished by being sold out of the estate. The trail went cold, as if someone were deliberately obstructing me. To survive, I accepted the marriage proposal from Shi Jing, who had just returned from a posting in Yangzhou. Thus began my laughable life." Old Wang received her orders and left, glancing back every few steps. Her eyes filled with unease about Chang'er. Once she was gone, I crouched down to look at Chang'er. His eyes were clear and innocent as he asked, "Miss, why did you call for me?" I slowly curved my lips into a smile. "Nothing important. I just want Xiao Tao to take you out to play." He broke into a huge grin. "Awesome! Finally! No more listening to the tutor recite lessons today. Every time he reads, it sounds like chanting sutras to me. My head feels like it's going to explode." I ruffled his hair. "Go on." Chang'er skipped and hopped out behind Xiao Tao. My expression grew colder by the second. To witness old Wang's pitiful state and remain unmoved, if she isn't naturally simple-minded, then she's cunning beyond measure. I glanced behind me. "Do you know how to handle this?" She brought this upon herself. Old Wang deserves to feel this heart-wrenching pain. By the time I arrived, the banquet hall was already filled with guests. Today's seasonal feast was Father hosting his official friends for a lively gathering. But Father had specifically instructed that family members could attend, summoning us from the inner courtyard to the front hall as companions. Seeing my late arrival, Father looked displeased. "With so many distinguished guests today, what kind of impression does it make for you to show up only now? Sit down quickly." My younger sister smiled as she offered Father a cup of wine. "Don't be angry, Father. Today is such an important day." Sister surely wanted to dress up properly, to uphold the Jing family's reputation, which is why she was delayed. She winked at me. "Right, sister? But with all those jewels adorning you, sister, you mustn't lose any. Imagine if someone picked them up, that would be quite the trouble." I walked straight to the women's seating area and didn't spare her a single glance. Jing Liuli's smile froze. Mother scolded her impatiently. "Enough. What manner of talk is this? What manners did the maids in the courtyard teach you?" Mother disliked Jing Liuli. This was common knowledge throughout the entire household. It all stemmed from the day she gave birth to a legitimate son. Father had specially brought home Jing Liuli, who was only a year younger than me. Blessed be our ancestors for granting the Jing family this legitimate heir. Yet Liuli is still my blood. After wandering for so many years, I've finally found her. This truly is a double blessing. As for that concubine, she's been sent away to spare the main wife any disturbance. Even as a child, I watched the clan elders behind Father shower him with flattery. Some praised his loyalty and integrity, saying the household remained pure and free of such messy affairs. But with my mother's family growing weaker, and still weak after childbirth, she had no choice but to accept Jing Liuli as her daughter. It made sense. Really. Being able to keep the concubine out and place all the children under the main wife's name would make any other wife envious. For many years, Father was famously devoted to his wife and daughter in the capital, earning him much praise even in official circles. After 3 rounds of wine, the guests' conversation naturally turned to the family's children. We've long heard of the Jing household's twin beauties, Seeing them today, their grace truly is extraordinary, truly captivating. With so many fine young men present, might either have found someone to their liking? Should uncle step in to play matchmaker? The speaker was a brazen fellow, his flippant words drawing disapproval from many. Miss Lu beside him rolled her eyes discreetly, while others with bolder dispositions snorted derisively. Only Jing Liuli blushed deeply at these words. Everything rests with father's decision. That phrase, parental decree, had nearly driven me to death in my past life. No sooner had the words left her lips than a stir rippled through the banquet hall. Oh! The stable hands at Master Zhang's estate are quite amusing. Look, even the embroidery features intertwined mandarin ducks. I wonder which maid in the household shares your affection. Why not ask your master to arrange a marriage between you two? It would be a fitting conclusion to this affair. Others, more rigid in their views, subtly criticized the Zhang household's loose morals. Publicly embarrassing father. It was never a matter of honor to begin with. Those who had tried to smooth things over earlier found themselves at a loss for words. Jing Liuli shot me a look that was tinged with smug satisfaction. Her tone held a hint of curiosity. This fabric looks rather fine. How could that woman you've been keeping on the side afford something of such quality? Could it be stolen? Despite meeting father's utterly displeased expression, she strode triumphantly to the center of the banquet hall. Our Jing household has no place for dishonest hands. Father, you absolutely must not let him off lightly, or else the uncles and elders present will laugh at us. Hearing her words, the kneeling stable hand immediately begged for mercy. No, it wasn't stolen. Sir, please investigate properly. Father's expression darkened further. His gaze toward Jing Liuli grew equally hostile. There are characters embroidered on this belly band. I must see which lowly scoundrel dared to steal it. Jing Liuli took 3 steps and 2, snatched the belly band from the ground. Unfolding it, she circled the room, displaying it to all. As she observed the stunned reactions, Shin Mingzhou at the men's table paled. Liuli, put it away. But it was too late. Jing Liuli had already paraded the undergarment throughout the entire banquet. Jing Liuli shrieked. Ah! How could this be? The object in her hand was impossible to discard or conceal. This Lu character, it looks as though it came from my sister's hand. You wretched slave! How dare you sneak into my sister's boudoir and commit such a vile act? You deserve to die. Jing Liuli's face turned deathly pale as she glared at me with venom in her eyes. It must be you. You ruined me. Father, I beg you to vindicate your daughter. I looked at the stable hand kneeling before us. He immediately crawled forward on his knees. The servant alone bears all blame. I will accept any punishment. But I beg you, Master, do not implicate the second young miss. A murmur of disbelief rippled through the banquet hall. Looks like he's truly devoted. Father valued his reputation above all else. Even though today's scheme was painfully obvious. But the weight of chastity crushed upon a woman, even if falsely accused, left Jing Liuli with only one path, death. Just like my past life. The crowd's words threatened to nail Jing Liuli to the pillar of shame. Shin Mingzhou could no longer bear it. He burst forth from the men's seating area. He shielded Jing Liuli in his embrace. Jing Qingli, she is your sister. How could you be so cruel? Publicly slandering Liuli's virtue? Apologize to her immediately and explain today's events to everyone. In my previous life, it wasn't until Shi Jing's deathbed that I learned both he and Shin Mingzhou had always loved Jing Liuli. To pave the way for Jing Liuli, they schemed to frame me for an affair with a stable hand in the mansion. Without me, Jing Liuli faced no obstacles to marrying the Shin family's young master as she desired. Unable to win her hand, Shi Jing willingly sacrificed himself to watch over me. Fearing I might harm Jing Liuli, the one he cherished most, in a moment of despair. They played me like a puppet. What a deeply devoted man he was. For me at that time, marrying Shi Jing was my only choice. To repay his kindness, I managed the household affairs flawlessly, leaving him no worries. I bore his heir to prosper his lineage and ran the dowry shop, ensuring his prestige as a rising court noble. Later, on his deathbed, he repented and begged my forgiveness. But I set fire to the canopy above his head. Amidst the crowd's curses calling me a madwoman, I finally laughed heartily. I had once been fond of Shin Mingzhou, and my father had intended for me to marry him. But I wasn't utterly devoted to him. There were so many fine men in the world. Who would hang themselves on a crooked tree? Little did I know they could be so vile, scheming to defile my virtue to achieve their ends. My only regret from my past life was not taking that pair of dogs with me. I walked toward them step by step, under their resentful stares. I lashed out at Jing Liuli. As a daughter of the Jing family, you've brought utter shame upon your father. A perfectly good seasonal banquet was turned into a stinking mess. Father endured much ridicule, becoming a laughingstock before his colleagues. His anger boiled over. To salvage appearances, the mansion had already spread the word. They claimed Master Jing didn't need his daughter to forge alliances through marriage. As long as the children were willing, they, as parents, would support their children's affection. The words were beautifully phrased. Yet the shouts and curses from the neighboring courtyard nearly reached the main gate. Shadow flung a basin of water out with all her might. Spit! Serves them right. Miss. Shall I teach them a lesson? Had you not exposed that old hag Wang, you'd be the one suffering today. Yes. The weight of chastity is like a mountain crushing all women. If they succeeded, no matter how hard I fought, it would be like an ant shaking a tree. Shin Mingzhou knew this. Shi Jing knew this. Jing Liuli should know this best of all. I removed the hairpin from my hair. I'll go see father first. No sooner had I stepped through the doorway than a teacup filled with boiling water came hurtling toward me. Disobedient daughter. Kneel. I dodged it and walked straight up before him. I have done no wrong. Why should I kneel? He slammed his fist on the table, his face flushing crimson with fury. You've gone so far as to ruin your sister's reputation. Yet you dare claim innocence? You were always so docile and obedient. How could you act this way now? Suddenly, I realized. He was like a monkey on a leash in a street circus. Barely human. Barely understanding humanity. So what if I caused it? Does father really think I should just let Jing Liuli frame me? Then resign myself to marrying a stable hand? Meek and obedient. Considerate and thoughtful, even when bullied to the bone. I was expected to put on a show of understanding, feigning sisterly forgiveness. But I refuse. If you were framed by a colleague, causing you to betray the emperor's trust, would you forgive them and silently bear the false accusation? Or would you fight them to the death? I stood tall, meeting his gaze directly. He scoffed. That's different. Your heart is too heavy with bloodlust. Go back and reflect on your actions. I lowered my eyelids and bowed respectfully to him. Only as I turned away did a mocking smile spread across my face. What difference does it make? They both treated me as less than human, a mere object. An accessory. In their eyes, what right did I have to stand on equal footing with them? Jing Liuli was given two choices, marry that stable hand or hang herself with a white silk cord. But before the cord meant for her suicide could reach her courtyard gate, the betrothal gifts from the Shen and Shi families had already been carried into the Jing residence. These past days, Jing Liuli had been locked away in her own courtyard. Only today was she permitted to emerge. On her way to the front hall, she deliberately took a detour past my courtyard, her head held high with an air of superiority. Sister, even if you've always outshone me in everything since childhood. So what? Now that real trouble has come. Look at all these people rushing to serve me. I hear your beloved Shin Mingzhou is among those suitors today. I wonder how that news makes you feel. Shin Mingzhou was the sole heir of the Shin family. With Lady Shen being the eldest Princess Hua Ping, she naturally sought a daughter-in-law who excelled in every way. Were it not for the childhood friendship between my mother and the eldest princess, the Jing family would be as distant as the stars from the Shen household. Watching Jing Liuli's receding figure, Xiao Tao, go inform the princess of what's happening at the mansion. Though it's said a daughter marries up and a son marries down. In my past life, Shen Mingzhou could wear down the princess's resistance to accept Jing Liuli as his bride only because she still had some reputation left. But now? It seemed a spectacle was brewing in the front hall. Less than half an hour later, Xiao Tao returned drenched in sweat. Yet her face beamed as she whispered in my ear, "Miss, the princess has guests today." Young Master Shen slipped out unnoticed. "She's heading to the front hall now, looks like she's about to explode." I glanced at Jing Liuli, who was twisting her handkerchief with coy embarrassment. Young Master Shen and I have long admired each other. Now that my daughter's reputation is tarnished, I'm grateful he hasn't abandoned. Her eyes instantly reddened, making Shinsher and the others tense. Shi Jing clenched his fists, seemingly struggling to restrain himself from stepping forward to comfort her. Shen Mingzhou, however, pulled her into his embrace and comforted her tenderly, utterly oblivious to the onlookers. Seeing his beloved so distraught, Shi Jing shot me, the root of this trouble, a menacing glare. We had lived together for a lifetime in my past life. I knew his temper and nature better than anyone, vengeful, ruthless, and cunning. To fulfill Jing Liuli's ambitions, he would sacrifice himself to restrain me. He had climbed to his current position step by step through his own efforts, proving he possessed considerable skill. But the capital was no Yangzhou, 1,000 miles away, without deep-rooted connections or wealth to pave the way. I'll see if he can navigate his time as smoothly as he did in the past. When the princess entered in a fury, she witnessed Shen Mingzhou and Jing Liuli embracing openly before everyone. Shen Mingzhou looked startled. "Mother, how could you?" Before he could finish, the princess regent tore the embracing pair apart, then lashed out with a fierce slap across Jing Liuli's face. She shot a piercing glare at Jing Liuli, who cowered behind Shen Mingzhou. "You seductive vixen." Spotting his father seated at the head of the table, Shen Mingzhou hurriedly stepped forward to greet him. But the enraged princess paid no heed to propriety. All of Shangjing knows that Minister Jing dotes on his wife and daughter. Yet when his own daughter brought such shame upon herself, no amount of affection should have led him to encourage her to seduce another man's son. Is that not so, Lord Jing? Cold sweat beaded on father's forehead, his smile fading from his face. He could only repeatedly apologize to the princess. Not only had father lost face, but he had also deeply offended Princess Huaping. After respectfully escorting the princess and her entourage out of the mansion, he sought out Jing Liuli with a grim expression to settle the score. I thoughtfully closed the door behind him. Hearing the screams inside, I turned and walked toward the back courtyard. Matters within these grand, secluded estates were usually hushed up. But Jing Liuli's incident today had been spun into a story by those with an agenda, becoming the talk of storytellers during their leisure hours. They merely omitted the part about young Master Shen. Anyone with eyes could see who had been offended. When I next saw Jing Liuli, she was utterly haggard. Her father had struck her mercilessly that day, though her cheeks remained unblemished. The terrifying wounds were visible wherever he'd raised his hand. "Humph. What are you here for? To mock me?" I shook my head. "Not at all. At this point, you have only one choice left. In my past life, I still had the capital to fight for it. But Jing Liuli had no way out." Her eyes instantly flashed with light. I whispered seductively into her ear, "Shi Jing and you shared a bond of growing up together in Yangzhou. Though now everyone fears associating with you because of the Grand Princess. Shi Jing is different. He came to ask for your hand alongside Shen Mingzhou that day. I saw it clearly, his affection for you was no less than Shen Mingzhou's." Hearing my words, Jing Liuli fell deep in thought. Shi Jing loved her more than Shen Mingzhou. But all of this was predicated on not harming his own interests. If he had come to ask for my hand in the previous life, though my reputation would have suffered, that marriage would have undoubtedly benefited him. To ensure I could hold my head high in my husband's family, Mother doubled the dowry beyond what was originally intended when I married. Though our clan's influence was waning, it was more than sufficient to prop up a newly transferred minor official. This enabled Shi Jing to swiftly establish himself in the prestigious capital, his rank steadily rising. I saw Jing Liuli's gaze begin to soften. I pressed on. If you have something to say, I can deliver your message. Her vigilance snapped back, her gaze turning sharp. Why such sudden kindness? What scheme are you plotting this time? I scoffed. If you hadn't deliberately harmed me first, when have I ever wronged you? Think carefully. In this entire household, I'm the only one who can help you. Just past noon, Xiaodao handed me a note. I opened it. Jing Liuli was losing her patience. Take this letter to Shi Jing. Days passed, yet no reply came from Shi Jing. He could wait, but Jing Liuli couldn't. In my past life, Mother intervened, planning to send me into seclusion deep in the mountains or to become a nun, never to return. But before I could depart, Shi Jing came to propose marriage. Now, Jing Liuli had no such good fortune. Shin Mingzhou had already arranged meetings with many young women. Yet Shi Jing remained silent. Father had endured nothing but cold stares these past days, and it seemed he was about to send the white silk to Jing Liuli's courtyard. Jing Liuli's letter arrived once more at my courtyard, accompanied by the tokens exchanged between her and Shi Jing. Shi Jing showed faint signs of wanting to break free from Jing Liuli. Yet he had once been so deeply devoted, how could I not be satisfied? I took the jade pendant passed down in Shi Jing's family and the letter he gave Jing Liuli when he first arrived in the capital to the front hall. Father immediately took these letters to confront Shi Jing. With the physical evidence before him, Shi Jing could no longer deny it. There were no 3 letters and 6 rights. No grand 8-pole palanquin. They simply chose an arbitrary date. And Jing Liuli rode in a small palanquin to the Shi residence. Shin Mingzhou's marriage affairs did not proceed smoothly. Upon hearing of Jing Liuli's marriage to Shi Jing, he deliberately made things difficult for the young ladies of other families. All were daughters from respectable households. With a husband of such character, even families with mountains of gold and silver were unwilling to send their daughters into such misery. As time passed, the Grand Princess grew increasingly resentful toward Jing Liuli. Xiaotao, have you covered all the pebbles? From afar, I saw the princess's carriage enter the temple grounds. Xiaodao sprinkled fine soil over each pebble, ensuring none were exposed. Rest assured, miss. A light rain fell today. Yet the incense at Qing'an Temple burned as fervently as ever. I deliberately slowed my pace, waiting for the princess to pass by. Sure enough, the wet, slippery stones proved treacherous. As she descended the stone steps, the princess lost her balance and began to topple sideways. Careful! In that critical moment, I threw myself in front of her, taking the full force of her fall as she crashed onto the stone steps. The pain made me gasp sharply. When the princess looked up at me, she feigned utter surprise. Your Highness! It's you! Because of Jing Liuli, she had no desire to associate with us anymore. But seeing the gruesome wound on my arm, she was still somewhat moved. You've always been sensible, girl. It's just a pity. When we return, I'll have the imperial physician prescribe some wound-healing medicine. It's best for a lady not to bear scars. I stood respectfully by her side. Thank you, Your Highness. Her interest piqued. She asked, what brings you to Qing'an Temple? I found it hard to speak, but Xiao Tao behind me quickly interjected. It's all that troublemaker's fault. She's married off now, but she dragged our young mistress's reputation through the mud. Xiao Tao was about to continue, but I silenced her with a glance. Hearing this, the princess seemed to find someone to confide in. The Shinmingzhou affair had been stirring up the entire city lately. She said that though she was the princess, she was also a mother, utterly powerless against her son. I sighed. Solutions weren't entirely absent, simply bear another child. Lord Shin passed away too soon. In all these years, the princess had cherished only this one precious treasure. She held him like a delicate flower, afraid he might melt in her mouth, cradled him like a fragile porcelain, fearful he might shatter in her hands. She had indulged him to the point of lawlessness, and now he harbored resentment toward the mother who had torn him from Jinglioli. We were bound by shared misfortune. Thus, the princess consort confided in me about her recent sorrows. Qingli, you've suffered too. I nodded, tears welling in my eyes. But then she said, why don't you become my daughter-in-law? Alarm bells instantly rang in my heart, and I hastily changed the subject. After that day at Qing'an Temple, I frequently visited the princess consort's residence under the pretext of treating my injuries. One day, I happened to encounter Shinmingzhou emerging from the Drunken Blossom Pavilion. Spotting me, he approached reeking of alcohol. Why are you so persistent? You've even gone to flatter my mother for my sake. He pointed at me, but I shoved him away. Undeterred, he continued, Jing Qingli, let me tell you this, you're not half as good as Liuli. A venomous creature like you? I'd never marry you in a million years. Give up that delusion. His words abruptly halted when he noticed the man following behind me. What kind of riffraff is allowed into the princess's residence? Servants. Throw this whining woman out for me. Shinmingzhou shouted for a long while, but not a single servant stirred. Finally, consumed by rage and humiliation, he stormed into the inner courtyard. I hurriedly led Guqing away to wait in the front hall. After a long while, a maid from the princess's entourage finally ushered us in. By then, Shinmingzhou had departed, leaving only the heartbroken princess leaning against her couch. I gave Guqing a gentle nudge behind me, then respectfully withdrew. Guqing came from a poor family. Her mother, gravely ill, had to work at the docks hauling heavy loads. Yet she was still ostracized for her appearance. That day, while accompanying the princess on an outing, she happened upon Guqing being bullied. This stirred the princess's compassion. Guqing was so eager to advance herself that within mere days, she had won the princess's favor. Meanwhile, Shinmingzhou was still clutching some courtesan from the Drunken Flower Pavilion, reveling in debauchery. Just moments ago, he dared to use his marital authority to pressure the princess. I reckon it won't be long before she utterly despises him. Father's birthday approaches in a few days. Originally, we planned a grand celebration this year, but due to the recent incident involving Jinglioli, he decided to host only a small gathering with a few tables of close friends and family. Early in the morning, a modest carriage from the Shi household pulled up before the gates. Jinglioli was dressed plainly, wearing far fewer hairpins than before. Shi Jing, who accompanied her, wore a cold expression, maintaining a distance at all times. Jinglioli's smile was slightly stiff, yet she still put on a show of marital affection for everyone to see. The moment Shi Jing saw me, he immediately grew tense. He pushed through the crowd and came to stand before me. Qingli, I'm glad you're okay. I pulled my hand away in disgust. Brother-in-law. Of course I'm fine. In broad daylight. Stop tugging at me. Is this how things are done in the Shi household? My tone was icy. Shi Jing was momentarily bewildered. Under Jinglioli's resentful glare, he sat back down. The family banquet was brief. Shi Jing kept glancing my way, while Jinglioli's anger threatened to boil over. As if trying to prove something, she clung to Shi Jing's hand and pouted. Husband, it's been so long since I came home. Stay with me a little longer after dinner. Okay? A heavy silence fell. Everyone watched as Shi Jing stared at me, completely transfixed. Jing Liuli could no longer maintain her act. She tossed aside her chopsticks, covered her face, and stormed out. After the meal, Shi Jing caught up to me. Qing Li, wait for me. He came to a halt before me, panting. You've returned too, haven't you? Otherwise, why? Why did Jing Liuli marry me? I looked at him coldly. After a long moment, his shoulders slumped heavily. I'm the one who wronged you. You have every right to resent me. But the one I truly love now is you. I can't deceive myself into being with Jing Liuli. I despise myself every single moment. I cut him off. If you despise yourself so much, go to hell and atone for your sins. What are you doing here? Pretending to care? Could it be you can't bear to leave your old life behind and want me to help you? Shi Jing, you're despicable in every lifetime. His face paled. His hand reached out to grasp mine, then froze midair. I turned and walked away. Nothing in this world comes that easily. Squeezing every last drop of value from someone, then uttering a simple sorrow to erase all past sins, utterly delusional. Shi Jing is no fool like Shin Mingzhou. He understands better than anyone what serves his interests best. After that day, Jing Liuli grew even closer to Shin Mingzhou. Shi Jing played the victim to perfection, sending several letters back to the Jing residence. It seemed he intended to abandon Jing Liuli. My devoted care in my previous life must have clouded his judgment. He still clung to the fantasy of rekindling our past. Gu Qing relayed news the princess had conceived. Upon learning this, Shin Mingzhou had a fierce argument with her. To prove his capability, he's been secretly planning something significant behind the princess's back lately. As a rival, Gu Qing sought to form an alliance with me. Thus, when Shi Jing sent another letter home, I gave him a taste of something sweet. The shop on Changle Street brings in 500 taels annually. Xiao Tao. Give this shop to Shi Jing. It was meant for Jing Liuli anyway. She didn't take it when she married. So consider this a return to her and her husband. I hope he discovers the surprise I left for him. Soon after, Gu Qing sent word, instructing me to reinforce the mansion's guards. Sure enough, in the dead of night, the sound of soldiers on horseback patrolling outside reached us. The Jing residence was far from the imperial city. Though faint, the noise could be heard. But thankfully, it didn't reach our quarters. The entire night was filled with panic and unease. Only the next morning did we learn that the Prince of Jin had attempted a rebellion the previous night. But before he could attack the Taiwu Gate, he was completely subdued by the imperial guards. It all ended too quickly. It wasn't until the next day's court session that father learned what had transpired. As for the Prince of Jin, he had been executed on the spot. This absurd rebellion had thus failed. The emperor, grieved by his eldest son's treachery, summoned the eldest princess to attend to his illness. Yet the princess remained within the palace until dusk fell. Gu Qing made inquiries among the palace eunuchs but gleaned little information. It was not until the following dawn that the princess emerged from the palace. Her spirit utterly broken, Gu Qing and I waited outside, watching as she left through the palace gates in the special palanquin bestowed upon her by His Majesty. I hurried forward. Your Highness, are you unwell? Her face was ashen, and she remained speechless for a long time. The shop next to Jing Liuli's cosmetics store belonged to the Shin family. The shop steward also told me he often saw the second young miss going in and out of the neighboring shop. Later, I dispatched spies to follow. Thus, I uncovered the illicit affair between Jing Liuli and Shin Mingzhou. Consequently, I simply handed that shop over to Shi Jing. The princess consort clutched my hand and asked the attendant behind me, "Go find out where that young master is now." By the time we arrived, the imperial guards dispatched by His Majesty had already surrounded Changle Street. As the princess rode in her palanquin, Shin Mingzhou stood confronting General Li. Open your dog eyes and watch well, you dare arrest this young master. You truly fear not the emperor chopping off your head. Jing Liuli hid behind Shin Mingzhou. Shi Jing stood nearby, his face ashen. Though he knew of their connection, witnessing it firsthand was unbearable. Rebellious son. Shin Mingzhou's arrogance flared upon seeing the princess. Mother, tell uncle to dispose of this blind fool. The princess strode forward and slapped him hard across the face. General Li, take him away. With those words spoken, the eldest princess seemed to age significantly in an instant. Even as he was led away, Shin Mingzhou still couldn't quite believe it. Mother, why? Why didn't you save me? His eyes bulged with fury. It must be because of that bastard in your belly. How can you face father? Hearing his words, the eldest princess's expression shifted from initial sorrow to anger. Let's go. Shin Mingzhou was scheduled for execution after the autumn. To prevent Xing Liuli from bringing shame upon the family, father had long since disowned her. After Shi Jing personally witnessed her illicit affair with Shin Mingzhou, he issued her a letter of divorce and banished her from the household. Where she went afterward, we never knew. Shi Jing could no longer bear staying in the capital. He submitted a memorial to His Majesty requesting reassignment back to Yangzhou. Before his departure, he sent me a message, saying he had lived in a daze and the only person he truly owed an apology to was me. He hoped for my forgiveness. I placed the letter he sent me onto the flames, watching the tongues of fire slowly devour the paper. Have you made all the arrangements? Rest assured, miss. Those bandits are all wanted criminals. If they encountered him, even a god would have to account for his whereabouts. I nodded. Indeed. Officials encountering bandits on official journeys is a common occurrence. If they do, it's just Shi Jing's bad luck. I've never been a saint since childhood. In my past life, everyone urged me, you've lived a lifetime already. Let go of grudges and reconcile with Shi Jing. But I took advantage of their distraction and set him ablaze, sending him to meet the king of hell. This life is no different. I never hold grudges against the dead. He died, so I forgave him. On the day Shin Mingzhou was beheaded, I went to witness it. He scanned the crowd, searching everywhere, yet still couldn't find the eldest princess. I told him, the eldest princess gave birth today. He seemed to read my lips. As tears slid down his face, he too passed into eternal sleep. Gu Qing feared the eldest princess would harbor deep sorrow. She spent her days bringing the child to amuse the princess, who gradually ceased dwelling on the past. The emperor sought to compensate the princess. I just saw my wet nurse hastily tuck something into her sleeve. On the day of Qinshu's full moon banquet, I went to see him, snow white and tender, exceptionally handsome. The little princess was lively and in robust health. After leaving the princess's residence, I visited my cousin from the foreign clan. Qing Li, have you made up your mind? I nodded at her. I have. I'll follow you wherever you go, traveling far and wide to see the world. She reached out and pulled me onto the horse. The sun rose in the east. A bright and open path lay ahead of me. The end.